Ann Arbor and the large crowd that's here. I want to thank you guys for coming, even though you might be here for something else, but we're going to satisfy you as well. My name is Alma. I am the co-founder for Focus. It's a student organization on campus. It stands for Fighting Obstacles, Knowing Ultimate Success. We're a student arts advocacy organization on campus that unites the student body using the arts as a common medium. So we throw on a lot of student art galleries, film festivals, film screenings, and little concerts. And this right here is called Vanguards. It's our end-of-the-year block party we throw on for students and, of course, the Ann Arbor community to come out, enjoy live entertainment, free food. We have game stations and just a lot of fun all day on Saturday. So we're about to get started. We have a special invited guest that's about to open up by the name of Mr. John Sinclair. Focus has invited him to speak as an artist, because he's a dope artist. And he will be introduced by Mr. Adam Brooks, a longtime friend and manager of John Sinclair. So, Adam Brooks.
How y'all doing? First off, I'd like to thank Alma and the Focus group here.
Thank you.
We really appreciate the ability to use their PA system. A lot of you folks know who I am. You know I've done this for many years, but we all come here for one reason. And it's to protest the laws in this country against marijuana. And the university needs to understand that they can give the permit to another group. Of course, to give it to a group that is so like-minded as us doesn't make much sense, because the reality is I think these people would love for us to stay here all day and party with them. But you can't party here. Can't smoke no weed. You smoke weed, them guys with badges will come around and they'll arrest you, and it's a big problem. Yeah, all right, well, we'll go smoke weed in a few minutes, okay? It's amazing what these people's agenda is. I was asked to introduce John today in our program because as the organizer and MC of Hash Bash, I've been involved with what's gone on this year, and a lot of you folks think that this organization has done something to Hash Bash. Well, in reality, Focus has done nothing but helped us. It's the university that has attempted to screw Hash Bash. And while I remind you to treat the university's employees with the utmost respect, because as the police will tell you, they're only doing their jobs.
That's what they said, Nuremberg!
I wouldn't want to spend any more time on this property than I have to. So we're going to leave very soon when we're done with Mr. John Sinclair. But I had to find something that would be appropriate for this art community and artist group, and my favorite quote of all times fits perfect, so I'm going to read it so I don't fuck it up. This actually comes from our arch nemesis, Harry Anslinger, who, interesting enough, I found out he died at exactly 1 p.m., which is a great reason for us to, in the future, leave the diag at 1 p.m. But that's a little side note. But Harry Anslinger, when he was the U.S. Commissioner of Narcotics testifying to Congress on why marijuana should be made illegal back in 1937, he said, "There are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the U.S., and most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. It gets better. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana usage. This causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and any others." I'm the others. So, and keeping with that, I'd like to introduce the man who I think came up with the idea of rock and roll and dope and fucking in the streets. Which Mr. Anslinger very well might have been right on some of that stuff. But with great pleasure, I get to introduce my friend, Mr. John Sinclair.
Hey everybody, we finally get a beautiful day. Thank you, our creator. And I'd like to thank the focus group too for resolving a sticky situation to the benefit of everyone concerned. Even the university can maintain its reputation as a hotbed of free speech after today's results. Good for them. It's also especially pleasing to me to see our traditional event, which started, they say 1971 was the first gathering on the Diag for a bunch of people to get high communally. I was in prison at that time, serving 2.5 years of a 9.5 to 10-year sentence for possession of 2 marijuana cigarettes. So, well, they're still doing it today. Not here. We fixed that to a certain extent here in Ann Arbor back in 1972. Except if you're on campus, I understand this is like another planet that's settled down here in the middle of the city of Ann Arbor, which has a relatively reasonable marijuana law. Well, I just wanted to say a few words about the history of the event because it started back in 1971. In 1972, it became the Hash Bash. An interesting thing about that is I was in Berkeley, California a couple of years ago. I ran into an old friend from here named Walden Simper. At the time, she was an artist member of the Rainbow People's Party over on Hill Street. And she got the assignment to make the flyer for the thing on the Diag on April Fool's Day, 1972. And she told me just a couple of years ago that she was sitting there and getting high enough to create a work of art. And she thought this should have a name. And so she wrote Hash Bash. And even today, in the 21st century, it's still ringing. Yeah. So we'll send a big toke out to Walden Simper all the way out to California. But it's, I feel it's incumbent upon me when I am invited to speak here to talk about how this came about. There's a few events that aren't quite as apparent as the fact that every year at this time we celebrate marijuana usage by citizens and protest against the laws on the first Saturday in April. Well, first Saturday in April in 1972 fell on April Fool's Day. It ended a particularly proud period in Michigan history when there were no marijuana laws whatsoever between the 12th of March and the 1st of April. There were about 3 weeks. We had overturned the previous laws, and the new laws weren't set to go into effect until April 1st. So during that period, of course, we took every opportunity to celebrate this interim period. In public events, we could have our religious ceremonies, including rock and roll music and people smoking weed at the altar during this 3-week period. And on April 1st, we thought it was particularly important to demonstrate that even though we would become criminals once again on that day, we would continue to practice the things we believed in, including getting high and trying to reach out into the cosmos and make a connection. So there's a spirit of resistance that's part of the hash passion that I celebrate. But for me, it's particularly important to be here today as a guest of Focus, because my roots are also in the arts movement. And for me, the making of art, the gathering of artists, the enjoying of art is always, in my experience, accompanied with ingesting substances that will raise your consciousness, like marijuana. The artists, the musicians, the painters, the poets, the producers, just about everybody I know smokes weed and creates great art. It's always been part of our legacy, and it's happening today, so even more than ever. And I'm very, very happy to be here. I came all the way from Amsterdam, where I live now. The heads of Amsterdam heeded our messages from the 60s and the early 70s, and when we instituted the $5 marijuana law here, they convinced their government that there was nothing wrong with people smoking marijuana and they shouldn't be treated as criminals. And so they ended that in 1972 and started establishing coffee shops as places where people could go to buy their weed across the counter, get a cup of coffee and sit and have a joint in the pleasant circumstances and not have to go out in the alley like we do in the United States. So I'd just like to offer, as an artist, a poet, I'd like to offer an excerpt from a long poem of mine, which I took the title, I learned the title from people like yourselves. It's called It's All Good. I should remember this by now. When you go to the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam, they got people coming there from all over the world to check out the finest marijuana grown by the seed companies of Holland for us to smoke and get high and enjoy the wonderful atmosphere of a society where people just don't care if you want to get high. Hey, that's just fine. Come on over here to the coffee shop and order up whatever kind of weed or hash you might want to smoke, because it's all good. It's all good. And by the end of the week, they're going to pick the finest marijuana that's been submitted for the testing of the exalted panel of judges here at the Cannabis Cup. And guess what? Well, we're smoking all those different kinds of weed and trying to figure out which one is going to win the cup. Every different brand we try is going to be the bomb, because it's all good. It's all good. But when we get back to the United States, it ain't going to be nothing like this. In the United States, it ain't nothing nice, because they got a war on people like us. They call it the war on drugs, but they don't give a fuck about drugs, because if you got a prescription, you can get just as loaded as any human being has ever been on the planet Earth. They just don't like us getting high on marijuana or whatever we might want to use. use to affect a certain change in our consciousness, because that's all good. It's all good. Now, I like to get high. I'm not going to make any bones about it. I like to get high, and you know, whatever I like to get high on, I believe I have a right to do this. And you too. And everybody in our society. Because people want drugs. They want to get high. People have been getting high ever since there's been people. They've been fucking. They've been getting high. And like in Amsterdam, they've been buying some pussy, you know. These things have been going on, and they will continue to go on, because that's all good. So, to keep us from getting high, like we are today, here on the Diag, they got police. They got so many police, you couldn't even believe it. They got electronical equipment. They got helicopters. They got exotic chemicals killing the shit off in the fields. They got people going out all over South America and Asia and all over the world trying to keep this shit from getting to the United States. And when it finally does get here, you got to pay so much money for it that it's about to drive you crazy. So, we're going to forget about America for the rest of the week and enjoy ourselves here at the Cannabis Cup all week long. And on Thanksgiving Day, when they announce who grew the best pot for us to smoke and get high on, let's give thanks for every strain of weed that's made its way here to us today. With special appreciation for all the growers of marijuana all over the world, and our intrepid comrades who risk life and limb to supply us with the substances we require, and all the warriors doing time in the vast penitentiaries of America as prisoners of the war on drugs. We salute you all, and thank you once again for all the good you have done, because it's all good. It's all good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John Sinclair, everybody. How about that, huh? Hey, you feel that warm air, huh? That warm sun, right? Here's the problem. The problem is that we're uninvited co-conspirators, and we want to go get high. But before we leave, I have to shout out a few names here from some people that have left us in the past. As you know, Chef Ra, we lost him a couple years ago. We recently lost May Nutt, who was known as Grandma Marijuana. And also John Hartman, who used to come out to Hash Bash every year, passed away in February. And some of you might have heard that Dr. Todd Mikariah died. Also, you should know, May 3rd, Liberation Day 2008. Join us for Detroit's largest annual marijuana legalization event ever, with special guest, Mr. John Sinclair. So if you want to see John, the next opportunity, besides over at Monroe Street here in a minute, with Globe, at the Blind Pig tonight at 9 o'clock. He'll be with the Mac Pod, so you can check that out. But I have to let you know that it was pointed out to me that the laws against marijuana are what got most of us involved. The people that put on this event, Focus, have been affected by those laws because they're university students. They come from all over the country. I was talking to one of them, and she's from New York, where they have the Rockefeller drug laws, which were some of the worst laws in this country. And here she is in Ann Arbor partying with us. So you can see how it touches all across the country. But at this point, it's real simple. If you're with me or you're against me, who's with me? Who's got a joint? All right, everybody with a joint, meet me over there. No. Here's the deal, folks. It's real simple. If you want to party with us and kick out the jams and smoke some good weed, my suggestion is to follow the Monroe Street Fair banner over to Monroe Street and enjoy the Monroe Street Fair. At this point, Focus is going to take over the Diag, and we're going to be nice and give it to them. But we'll be back the first Saturday of April of next year and the year after and forever. So at this point, I'd really like to ask you to give a nice round of applause for Focus and our good new friend Alma here, who without her, this wouldn't have happened because she reached out to us. So we do appreciate it.
Just want to keep it clear, Focus is not a marijuana activist group. We are an arts organization, but power to you and your struggle. He wants to start marching this way, so you guys can go party out on Monroe Street, or you can still party out with us. We're going to have live music all day up until 5 o'clock, so if you want to appreciate the arts, appreciate live music, we got some games and just a bunch of fun. Stay around and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.